All right, today we're going to break down a pretty sharp philosophical critique of what our society calls progress. We're going to explore this really radical idea. What if our modern definition of success is actually a complete and total illusion? It's a perspective that takes what we think of as our greatest achievements and just flips them right on their head.
So let's just jump right in with this question. Is it possible that the very things we celebrate as advancement, the things we're most proud of, are actually just symptoms of a much deeper problem? That's the core idea we're really going to dig into together.
So where does an idea like this even come from? Well, its foundation is a really old concept from the Bhagavad Gita. And it argues that before we can even begin to think about success or progress, we first have to get real and confront four fundamental, totally unavoidable problems of just being human. And here they are: birth, old age, disease, and death. Now, according to this philosophy, these aren't just, normal stages of life. They are presented as inherent problems. Every single one comes with its own kind of suffering, and the very first step to wisdom is to just acknowledge them, not to try and run away from them.
In fact, there's a specific principle for this. It's called dukkha dosa anudarsanam. Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a mouthful, but all it really means is that we should constantly be aware of the misery that's built into these realities. Now, the point isn't to be morbid or depressed. It's about being clear-eyed, staying focused on what actually matters. But is that what we do?
Yeah, probably not. Because let's be honest, instead of facing these truths head-on, our modern society has become an absolute master of the art of denial. We've built this entire culture around hiding from reality, just slapping a cosmetic fix on some of life's most serious warnings.
And check out this first example. It's just perfect. So when your hair starts turning gray, this philosophy sees it as a natural signal, like a little memo from the universe, saying, hey, time is ticking, maybe focus on what's important. But what's our first instinct? We run out, buy some hair dye, cover it up, and pretend it never happened. We're basically ignoring the message and deceiving ourselves in the process.
And this one hits the nail on the head, too. Let's say your eyesight starts to fade. Getting glasses could be a wonderful tool to help you read sacred texts, to gain wisdom. But instead, what do we usually do with that corrected vision? We use it to binge watch more TV or just scroll endlessly on our phones. The solution becomes a tool for more distraction, not for deeper meaning.
And this brings us to what is easily the most startling part of this whole critique. It's this idea that our values have become so completely backward, so inverted, that we've actually started to feel pride in our own problems. That somehow being sick has become a weird kind of status symbol.
I mean, just let that sink in for a second. What are the things we're actually proud of? Let's look at a couple of really powerful stories from the source material that make this point in a way that's, well, it's pretty chilling.
This quote comes from a story about two guys in a village who are arguing. The wealthier one, trying to prove he's a bigger deal, doesn't boast about his land or his money. No, he boasts about how ridiculously expensive his medicine is. He's literally saying, I'm so sick, and my treatment is so fancy that it makes me more important than you. It's just wild. And here's another one. A man in Mumbai proudly pulls up his shirt to show everyone the scars from his bypass surgery. He doesn't see them as a sign of an unhealthy life he regrets. He sees them as a badge of honor, like a trophy from a successful operation that he managed to survive. The pride is all about the intervention, not the prevention. And this is the real kicker. The person telling the story points out that even with a chest that looks like a railway line of scars, the man has absolutely no intention of changing the habits that got him there in the first place. The whole focus is on celebrating the fix, not on actually fixing the root problem.
So let's just zoom out from the individual for a second. This twisted logic, it turns out, isn't just a personal thing. The critique argues that this is exactly how we measure our success as a nation. We've created this huge illusion of progress that's basically built on top of our collective failures.
I mean, just think about it. How do we show off that we're a developed country? We proudly point to our massive, state-of-the-art hospitals. But the uncomfortable truth behind that is, it means we have a massive number of sick people. We boast about our giant jails, which really just means we have a giant number of criminals.
So it just forces you to ask the question, is that really progress? Is the goal of a truly healthy society to build bigger and better hospitals, or is it to create a world where people don't get sick in the first place? It's a fundamental question about what we're even celebrating.
And finally, the critique brings his whole argument right back home, to the most personal level there is, the family. This is where we see the ultimate price we pay for this skewed definition of success, and man, it is a heavy price.
Think about the checklist that parents are kind of trained to follow. Is my kid studying hard? Check. Do they have a good job? Check. Are they successful? Big check. But what about those other, deeper questions? Like, is my child a good person? Do they have any kind of inner values? All too often, those questions just get pushed to the side.
And this is the tragic outcome. The whole process of raising a child, their education, their career, their marriage, it all seems to be a preparation for one final step: leaving. The source heartbreakingly calls it fly away bird. It's like our definition of success actually requires you to abandon the very family that helped you get there.
And the bar for what we consider devotion has dropped so incredibly low. The source sadly points out that in this new world, a child who remembers to call their parents just once a month is considered a saint, a total model of devotion. This is the lonely endgame of our modern success story.
So, we end up right back where we started, with a big question. If this relentless chase for success, for bigger hospitals, better jobs, and fancier operations, if it all ultimately leads to us feeling proud of our own brokenness and then facing profound loneliness in our old age, then what exactly are we measuring? And why in the world do we call it success?